Hello, and welcome to this FinGraphs podcast on Dukascoin TV. Today we're going to talk about cryptos, about Bitcoin and Ethereum in a very difficult year for cryptocurrencies with quite a few scandals. We believe this is quite common in a promising industry, yet that is still nascent. We'll first look at Bitcoin on our FinGraphs platform with this investor's view chart. It comprises a weekly chart for the perspective over the next few quarters, a daily chart for the perspective over the next few months, and an hourly chart for the perspective over the next few weeks. What we could first see on the weekly graph is that for now, our models still indicate that the downtrend is in place. It could continue into the better part of next year, possibly below 5,000, which is an aggressive projection. And for now, our risk index is not oversold yet. So we're not quite out of the woods yet on cryptocurrencies. We now move to the shorter term daily graph. And this is more promising because the daily graph is very oversold on our risk index. You can see that it's been oversold for quite a while. Our impulsive targets to the downside have been achieved. And our envelopes are showing multiple stress points to the downside. This is a base building process, and we believe that we're going to get a reaction. And this bounce, in our view, will probably last 1 to 1.5 months, probably into mid-late January. The type of bonds we are expecting is probably to move higher, probably above these levels here. And if we do calculate what our targets are saying, we have our volatility measure here, which is pretty much 20,000 points. And we usually take half of that to calculate a corrective target. So if we do add 20,000 points divided by 2, so 10,000 points, to pretty much 15,700, we get to about 26,000 as a possible rebound target. Now we could also look at it more short term on the hourly graph for the perspective over the next few weeks. And what is interesting here is that it already seems to be bouncing. It is still below our corrective targets, which is basically the resistance around 18,000. But once it makes it above it, we expect it to accelerate up, probably reaching the highs of the graph, which were at around 2,100. So in this case, we expect for Bitcoin into the next month and a half, a rebound to between 21,000 and 26,000. Ethereum is quite similar. We could see that it is also building a very nice base, that our envelopes have touched each other quite a few times, that our impulsive targets to the downside have been achieved, and that the risk index has been bouncing in and out of the oversold zone for quite a while. Here also, we expect a rebound initially towards the last small bounce here, the top of the last small bounce we had. And if we calculate our exact targets, you're around 2,400 here, you're around 650 here, you have about 1,800 of historical volatility. If you divide that by 2, you're around 900 in rebound potential, and it probably brings you up to circa 1,900 as a possible rebound target. If we look at the hourly, it is also promising. It is getting out of the base. If it makes it above 1,355, we could then accelerate, and we would have our initial targets towards the high end of the charts here around 1,600. So here also we do expect a bounce towards the 1,600, 1,700 range up to 1,900, possibly into mid-late January. Finally, we want to compare this configuration with other configurations in the market, and we look in here at the ratio of the Nasdaq, so the QQQ ETF versus the SPY ETF, so the S&P 500 ETF. We could also see that the downtrend is not quite finished and probably has more to go in 2023 on a weekly graph, but that the daily graph is very oversold also, with our risk index in the green here, with our targets having been achieved and our envelopes touching each other. And our hourly graph is also trying to break out of a range for an acceleration and a rebound, which we also expect into mid-late January. Finally, we want to come back to probably the driver of these trends, which are interest rates. And we look here at the Treasury bond ETF, EIF, so the long-term Treasury bond ETF. And it also is still probably moving lower into 2023. It's quite oversold at the moment, so we are expecting a bounce. This bounce has already started from a very oversold position on the daily graph, and we believe it can also continue into January. Our hourly graph is a bit more advanced than on the cryptos, but it's still in an uptrend, and we believe it can continue higher. Thank you very much. That's all for this week.